Welcome to Voices of the Plaza, the podcast, hosted by Peggy MacArthur. This is where we amplify stories of empowerment, innovation, and success from the heart of the Global Business Plaza. Each week, Peggy introduces us to one of the creative business people, entrepreneurs, and industry experts who are shaping their fields and redefining success. Together, we'll explore unique journeys, highlight remarkable expertise, and uncover the inspiration behind their success.
Yay! I'm so excited to have Victoria sitting next to me today. Everyone, welcome to Voices of the Plaza. I am very excited to have Victoria because Victoria was actually introduced to me through a mutual friend, Aisla. And when I started the Global Business Plaza, Aisla says, you need to hire Victoria as your marketer because she's a genius. And I was like, well, let's meet. And so one of the things I did so Victoria would understand the GoBrunch platform and, the Global Business Plaza, I set her up in a GoBrunch room and she was like, oh, okay, this is nice. Now, how do you think about it, Victoria?
Oh my gosh, I love it. I feel like I have a home and a space, and it's so amazing when people go into the room and they're like, I see you, I feel you, this is such a vibe. Like, and so much of like marketing is all about, and branding is about how are you making people feel. And so to have a space that's virtual where people can walk in and get a sense of who I am, what working with me feels like is incredibly amazing and valuable. So thank you.
Yes, you have a home now.
Mhm.
Anyway, well, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into some questions.
Yeah, so I'm Victoria Carrington Chavez, and I am the founder and creative director of Lilac and Aspen, which speaks to my two, physical homes of the West and the Northeast. But I also do a lot of storytelling. I'm a storyteller at heart. I love the power of stories, and that lends itself to branding and marketing, which I have been doing branding and marketing for uh, nonprofits, corporations, and now really focused on small businesses, creatives, as well as the innovative entrepreneur and thought leaders. Been helping them craft their story and unlock the power of their story so that they can find their home, their people. That's a bit about me. Yeah, like I like to say I'm a story weaver and also a marketing bandita because I do like to break the rules a little bit. I think one of the best compliments is when somebody says, "Oh my gosh, thank you for giving me that tip and not being a bro."
You and I definitely resonated on the rule breaking because as a photographer, I always say you have to understand the rules so that you know when you can break them. And that's actually what creates art is knowing the rules and breaking them with intention. And that's also how we kind of run business and how we run marketing is understand and then bring your personality in and break that rule with intention. Because when you're breaking a rule with intention and not just like flopping into something, when you break a rule with intention, you can repeat that. It's not like, oh, wow, I speak photographer, so, oh, wow, that's a great shot, but you can't reproduce it unless you understand what caused it. And same thing with marketing, oh my gosh, this one thing just went so good. And then you never get another piece of marketing material that works for you again. Why? Because you didn't understand the rule and you didn't understand how breaking that rule actually put you in front of everyone else. So that's what I love. I love that you're a rule breaker.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a rebel archetype for sure. But I also think that it goes with this feeling of, so I gave a TEDx last year, super excited about it, where I talked about embracing my multiracial identity. And I talked about just kind of not being able to fit in the box. And my mom giving me kind of the sage wisdom of like, but you weren't meant to fit in the box, Miha. Like, and that felt really powerful. And I also like I enjoy when other people find the power in themselves, in their identity, whether that's their business, their brand, or their own, personal branding, because our personalities are so key. That is your unique the term of unique selling proposition, but I like to sometimes say your special sauce, your sazon, the thing that makes just anything that you do really uniquely powerful to you. And your story is, of course, tied to that. So, yeah, when I had that revelation of just being like, oh, I'm not meant to fit in the box, I'm kind of meant to be this outlier, I found power in that. And then I just had also really seen that other people who were maybe feeling like that they didn't fit or that they didn't belong, that they suddenly felt seen and supported. I was like, this is awesome. How do I do more of this? And that's why I think the Global Business Plaza and working through the GoBrunch platform is so exciting, because I'm able to do that from a virtual space, and like kind of have this like home that is my personality, but then also find and see other people's personalities. It's fun.
Well, and obviously, Aisla loves and adores you, and introduced you to me, and I love and adore you. And we did a workshop because in the Global Business Plaza we do monthly workshops, and you were like, "Hey, let me do a marketing workshop the first couple of months of the year and get people really on track for marketing." And the more we were kind of talking about what was going to happen in the workshop, I was like, do you mind if I open up? Because normally the workshops are just for members of the Global Business Plaza, other business people in there. I was like, do you mind if I open this up? And you were like, go ahead. Because it feels almost wrong to have somebody that has such a powerful message that I know can help so many people to like keep it to ourselves. So we opened that up, and like the amount of feedback was insane. Like everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome. How can I, work with you?" And so now you've got like we're launching. I don't think we've officially announced it to anyone, so they may be hearing it here first. But we're launching office hours where once a week people can come in and just ask you questions, and just a real casual thing. And then of course you go in and do a evaluation if they want you to, and really show them where their holes, the little pieces, because a lot of times it's not that we're doing things wrong, it's that the gears just aren't quite, just that little tiny shift and the gears catch. And a lot of times it's just those little tiny movements that as somebody that's not in it can see, and really that's what makes it really powerful, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes we get, like many of us, we get lost in the sauce of our creative space. I, like to use the bartender analogy of like many of us are kind of in our businesses, we have this offering like a bartender, where the bartender like you go to the bar, ask people about how they feel about their bartenders. Usually they're like, they make me feel seen and supported. I could tell them stories. Like there was this show, Cheers, that used to basically be centered around, how people felt, community, comfort, all of those things at a bar. And many of us are these bartenders in our businesses. And sometimes we're like, we want to pour somebody a drink, but instead we're like literally shooting them in the face with a soda gun because we're just in it.
So excited. We're like, I have this thing. It's so good. Have
So
it, have it, have it.
Like, I want you to have a drink. Like, and instead of being like, oh, wait, let me like pause. How do I then get this thing that I'm holding all of this space and energy and excitement for into a nice crafted glass for you? And that is one of the best analogies I think of in how I do marketing and how I work with people, is help them find what are those craft cocktails that you're offering? What's that menu look like? And how not, I'm maybe not the person to help you find the details and what goes in it, but I can help you in the presentation, and to be like, and someone like Aisla is really good at like, okay, this is the recipe, but I'm like, okay, now here's how you tell people about it. Right? Like, and then they're excited and then like, yeah, I definitely want to try that. Which all goes back to story. I love stories. I'm a story geek for sure.
So tell us how you came to where you are today. Like what got you to like, hey, I'm really good at this. I can make a living doing this. Like what did that look like?
Yeah. So I have a background in communications. I love photography, wanted to be a photojournalist, loved writing. And this was, in my early college years when we didn't have smartphones, which feels really surreal to say. But I feel like Peggy also knows what it was like to exist at that time. But what I started really finding community in places like MySpace or Tumblr, or even just some of those, like I was always intrigued by that. Fast forward to years later in my career, I started doing social media and content creation, social media management for corporations as well as nonprofits. And I was like, I love this. I love that social media feels like a place to tell stories. And as I started crafting narratives for my clients at the time, and then it was more resonant, I was like, ooh, I'm really good at this. And I had one client tell me, they were like, you're really just weaving stories like you're weaving a beautiful tapestry. And I was like, that's the Danae in me. That's um, the weaving of the rugs and the blankets that are art. And it's all about just weaving your personality in. So that's kind of where it started because enough people started asking me, can you help me with this? And when we look at something, so kind of telling the direction I'm going, that's where I've been, is that for years I've kind of said the social media platforms feel like the Wild West. We don't know what's going to happen day to day. People are always like, I don't know what to post, when to post. I feel stuck. Those are the questions that people are constantly coming to me with. And I felt like I was able to give them answers because I just looked back in their story. Like, what is it about you that is brilliant and wonderful that you can put out there? And then now we have like the TikTok novella that really makes it feel like the Wild West.
Yes. And I think that's one of the really cool things about the GoBrunch platform is people have autonomy over their platform.
Mhm.
It's not going to go anywhere because it's yours. Nobody's going to change a rule and tell you what you can and can't do. And you can create it so that the people that are coming to, be a part of your community, take part in your courses, take part of your content that you've created, that they also have autonomy over how they do that. Like you can set it up to where they can move things around in your room and, make it comfortable so adults can be treated like adults. That's what I say.
Yeah.
So we're all really tired of being told what we can and can't do.
Absolutely. And I mean, for years when I was, in corporations and working as the communications manager or like the marketing director of projects, it would really be, for me, it was always about what's the hardest story? What are you trying to tell people? And then also looking at a lot of big corporations use archetypes, so characters, right? In character building and creating that space. And I was like, small businesses can also utilize these things to help people understand them, their business, their
Mm.
story. Like these are all really powerful things. And I realized small businesses might not always have access to that knowledge and or that guidance. And as we're looking to more things like Global Business Plaza, like GoBrunch, where people want their own platform and their own voices and their content and their stories to get out, it's actually going to be more important than ever that we have our authentic stories out, but also realizing that there's balance in that. And we kind of need a space that's our own, that somebody else isn't able to come in and say, one day I'm going to turn this off. And we've seen these trends before. That's why I talk about the TikTok telenovela of it being what's happening from day to day. But that content, that story, what you bring, that can live in other spaces. And that's what's been the heart of where my work is going, of really helping people see what is the landscape? What do you want to build? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you serve? Who do you support? Okay, you don't have to build it there in that way. We get to make the rules. Thus, the rise of the marketing bandita, as Aisla calls me, that I have started to take on that moniker of just let's break the rules, let's blaze our own trails. And, you can be celebrated, seen in that, and supported in that. And that's okay. You So the marketing bandita.
We don't have to wait around for somebody to tell us it's okay for us to exist. We can exist. And we can
Absolutely.
be our true authentic selves, and we don't need anyone to tell us who we are or what we can do. We can be ourselves, and we can make a stand.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that.
Yep.
So you have a communication background, like education.
Yep.
When was there a time in your life that you felt like communication or telling your story was difficult?
Ooh, like the first 35 years. Um, I love writing, and I have like notebooks that I just would be like, that's where I could express. And I even talked about it a little bit in my TEDx of how like I straightened my hair, I wore green contacts, like I didn't I didn't give my full name or things like that because I really wanted to fit in. And in by fitting in, I wasn't really able to fully express, or even like I felt a lot of creative stipends. And so yeah, like I've been in it, or even when I did, I think that's why I love the marketing bandita, because there were times when I worked in corporate marketing that I couldn't really fully express my ideas, or I love this. I would have my ideas taken and somebody else would take credit for them, someone who didn't look like me, and be celebrated. And I would just keep getting this backseat that I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to go be a brilliant genius. But I spent a number of years really downplaying my ingenuity, my genius, and through kind of seeing the strength in my story, I've been able to like help other people find that too, right? Because then I had to go like, is this really what I want to do? And that's kind of where the marketing bandita comes from, this idea of Beyonce creating Sasha Fierce as a character to help her get over stage fright. And like, I don't know, I can't imagine a world where Beyonce has stage fright, but at some point, the rumor is that she did. And that's kind of where I too went with like, how do I create this character to embody who I want to become? And what's really beautiful, the more that you do that, eventually you become it.
Well, because it's who you are anyway. And I think that, my husband's an actor. And one of the things that I learned about acting, good acting isn't lying. Acting is finding that part inside of you that
Mhm.
resonates. And I used to be very, very shy. In fact, still, like if I have my way, if I'm at a party, I'm the one sitting over in the corner, just like people watching and just minding my own business.
Yeah.
But also as a photographer, I've done hundreds of events where it's my job to, get people's attention, pull out their emotion, move people around, and, work a whole crowd. And I can work a crowd of 400 people at, a drop of a hat, but put me in a party with 40 people and I'm like horrified. And so I had to do that. I had to like what I did. And this was, when I moved to Southern California in the early 2000s, I would, every time I was in a social situation, I would pretend, I would tell myself I was working. I would like, what would you do if you were working? And
Mhm.
so I would just put on work Peggy, because that's still truly Peggy.
Yeah.
That wasn't a lie. That was really a part of me.
Yeah.
And I would put work Peggy on and, go talk to people and, make conversations and make people laugh. And it's funny because people assume that I was just born this bubbly in front of the camera person. And it's like, no, this took
Yeah.
a lot of work to be able to sit in front of this camera right now and do this,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so never think that you're faking it or that you're being not authentic to you, because it's still you.
Yeah.
It's just buried sometimes under what people have told you
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah. And it's a spectrum and it's stages, and you go through different stages and you go, and like we can't, for me, also talking about authenticity, also recognizing that there are very real things in the world, even as we speak, that systems that have prevented or help, or people that are making people feel scared about being who they are. And we can't deny that that's real and that's happening. but also in my own journey in space, like I've just had to get more creative about when and where and how I'm expressing that authenticity, that realness, and who I am. And because I found in doing that, I've been able to find my community, my people. And the more that we, bring who we are to it, and, being like, all of us have beautiful layers of identity. I had one client once tell me, she's like, of course I'm layered. I'm not like a basic piece of paper. Like I am a multi, dimensional, multi-talented person. And I actually work really well with a lot of people who are complex because and I work with a lot of creatives because we're super in touch with some of these things that make us beautifully human and beautifully beyond. Um, and kind of weaving all of that together is something that I love to do it. But it also comes from the space of like having to get over and work through some of my own fears. People tell me a lot that I am really brave. I didn't always recognize myself as someone who's brave, but I realized like I could speak up. I could stand at a like full stop. I was so nervous at that TEDx. Like you would not have necessarily known my knees were shaking, but like sometimes fearlessness isn't about I don't have fear. It's I might be afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Do it
Because it
anyway.
feels right. It feels powerful. It's meaningful. And my goal was to get a message out to, other people like me who don't feel like they fit in a box, and to help them feel seen, celebrated, and feel powerful.
So once you started actually living yourself and doing what you're really good at because it's part of you and really making this your career, what is something that surprised you the most about that journey? Like when you were like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, you probably had like, I think it's going to go this way.
Oh,
And so what was the biggest surprise?
that storytelling is something people wanted and valued, in being able to reflect um, their brilliance in their story and to help them create content that attracts and resonates with people who need them and want to work with them. I did not think that that would be the thing that people would come to me for. For so long, I was like, let me get you a content calendar. I'm gonna make you a content calendar. And it's turned into like, no, you're like, actually tell me more about that thing, that story. Let's talk about that. That's really powerful. Let's make some content around that. Let's put it on, YouTube, or, let's like put it in a blog, or like find these different ways. That was what was really powerful. And that would be like my pro tip to small businesses or creatives. Like, what are people asking? What are people constantly coming to you with? What's the problem? I talked to somebody recently about a pain point. In marketing, we talk a lot about speaking to the pain points, but people are coming to you because you offer a solution. You offer a solution that's really unique. And a lot of times when we're trying to craft what's our perfect branding statement, or, our marketing, which being open to it shifting, what it was yesterday doesn't mean what it has to be today or even tomorrow. But when you start really reflecting on what are the things that people are gravitating towards you, chances are that's your authenticity, that's your brilliance, and that's what you help solve for the world to make it a better place.
I love that. I love that. So if we're going to start wrapping it up now, what are some things that you want to make sure that you tell the listening audience?
Yeah, I would make sure to tell the listening audiences, first off, that your story and what you offer and how you do what you do is so important, so unique to you. Nobody can do what you do the way you do it. There might be 25,000 other marketing agencies out there, but I know that I'm the only one who does what I do the way I do it. And that's really powerful. That feels really good. And I know that the people that are for me and that are excited to work with me resonate. So that's what a lot of like crafting that resonant message in your story is going to be really key, because it also does twofold. We talk a lot about mirrors and magnets, because one, create a mirror where people can see themselves in what you're doing. And this isn't like what your business does, this is what you're doing. And two, create a magnet system that attracts and brings people in, but also like repels people. Like people, like I don't get, calls like from certain people because they're probably like, oh, she's not the person for me. And that's okay, because your target audience, you are not for everybody. It has taken me a long time to be okay with that.
You and me both. And let me tell you now, anybody that's listened to me for 5 minutes knows I always say repelling people is more important than drawing people to you.
Mhm.
Repelling the wrong people from you is your biggest gift that you can give yourself, because when the energy suckers that aren't supposed to be your clients aren't hanging around,
Mhm.
you have more energy, you have more creativity, you can be happier, and by definition, those people that are supposed to work with you are going to be more drawn to you because there's no obstacles in their way. There's no, that negativity and that all that other stuff isn't there. They're not having to go around it. And then they are so excited about you and they're having such a good experience with you. They are doing all the hard work. They're telling all their friends and family and they're bringing them in, just like Aisla brought me to you.
Absolutely.
And it's the hardest step to take is, we so often think we have to be all things to all people, don't offend anybody, we have to make everybody love us. And when you finally realize, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's okay if everybody doesn't love you.
Yep.
And I also feel like that's why I'm really good at I don't believe in competition. I'm a
Mhm.
photographer. Do you know when I introduce myself as a photographer, the first thing that everybody says, and I don't mean 99%, I mean everybody says is, oh, my uncle's a photographer, my dad's a photographer, my friend's a photographer, somebody they know.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like the very first thing they say. That's why I don't introduce myself as a photographer. When I did portraits, I introduced myself as selling time travel.
Yeah.
When I focused on headshots, I introduced myself as I create an amazing first impression for you.
Yeah.
So these are things, that make me stand out. Why?
Yeah.
Because I know that you know a photographer and I don't care because your photographer doesn't do what I do and is never going to give you the same experience. Maybe they're a better photographer than me. Maybe they're not. It doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that the experience you get with me is not like anyone else. So the experience people get when they work with Victoria is not like anybody else.
No, it's
And
about
she's
like,
going to see things from a different point of view that nobody's told you before.
and I hear that actually from a vast majority of clients. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like what?" Like, and definitely, and when, people ask me what I do is, the gist of it is I bring clarity. Whether that's in marketing, whether that's in your branding, like I bring clarity. I help you see something that is, and so many of my clients are like, "It was right in front of me." I was like, "It's fine." Like I don't know if you have so sometimes when kids are like, "Can you help me find this thing?" and it's literally right in front of their faces.
I'm
And
married.
you're
I
like, "But it's
understand.
right in front of your face." And they're like, "But I don't see it." And then you literally have to kind of go over and be like, "Okay, but here it is." And they're like, but we need that. Like
Mhm.
we sometimes need that. We get so lost in our own, worlds at times. And that's okay. But like we all have our own saison. We all have like, listen, like my mom makes enchiladas. Like I've had a ton of nobody makes enchiladas like my mom. Your mom might make the best enchiladas to you, but my mom makes the best enchiladas to me. And I love creating that space of community. And speaking of world building, something that I love, and Peggy can talk about this, is like the GoBrunch platform really does let you build your own world. It's been so cool to go into other people's, not just their rooms, like it's their whole world. You're seeing into somebody's essence, their vibe, their brand in ways that I don't experience that with every client. And it's so cool because you're literally building your whole new world for people to come and see and experience and work with you. They're not just working with you, like they get that full sensory experience that they might not get in any other virtual digital space.
And I'm gonna plug the Global Business Plaza because you set it up, you teed it up. That is the cool thing about the plaza is that the plaza is like the mall, the shopping mall, right? The plaza where all of these businesses are. But when you enter a business, you enter into a complete different, like every single one that you enter into is a completely different experience,
Mhm.
completely different world. Right now, I think we have 27 businesses in the plaza. And so that's 27 completely unique, different worlds that you walk into. And you can see immediately their personality. And GoBrunch allows you to like really bring yourself out and show, you know, your what goes on in your brain.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
your
yeah.
personality, the things that you love, the things that make you smile.
Mhm.
And when you find somebody, you go in their room and it makes you smile too. You're like, oh, I bet we could talk. I bet we have things in common. I bet we could work together. I bet we could co-create things. I bet we could, who knows what level, maybe we'd just be friends.
Yeah,
But you find those connections, and it's so true and organic
yeah.
because people put their truth into it.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes back to what I tell people and why do people love stories? Because they see themselves in it and they get to be whisked away to another world, whether that's through television, whether that's through film, whether that's through books. You like some of the people of I think of something like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. People talk not just about that story, they talk about the world and being put into that whole like universe of that character, of the characters around, of the stories, and how it all threads together. And I like geek out. When I say I'm a story geek, I geek out on how it's all connected. And even like I'm a Marvel fan and I'll be like, the Marvelverse, let's talk about it, talk about this character. And that's where I think I see such like brilliance in the Global Business Plaza or even the expos is because you get to feel like you're walking into a level of like the Marvel Cinematic Universe of all of these different threads and characters, and we're all kind of just Avengering up because that's the thing is like each Avenger has their own persona, their own power, their own, and there could be 35 different Avengers, but nobody's going to do things the way that like this one does.
Absolutely.
And that's you. You're the one. You're an Avenger now.
You're it. You're
Let's
it.
just start telling clients that you're an Avenger now. Let's talk about like your superpowers.
What is your superpower?
Ooh.
I love that so much. So, okay, so I've pitched you as a marketing genius and a storytelling genius. So, super quick, little tiny tip that everybody could use that will help them move their marketing to the next level. Besides, obviously, calling and booking an appointment with you.
Find your why and find the things in your story that nobody else can do or share or some of those experiences. And it doesn't have to be those painful experiences, but find those things in your story that connect to why. It's one of the reasons why I ask people, what's a song you're jamming to? Because you can find a lot about people in a song. But your why, actually, somebody asked me to clarify that real quick. Having a business is hard. It's a lot of work. Why do you get up in the morning and do what you do? And it's not at the end of the day always about the business. I want people to see the power in who they are and who they were meant to be. That's it. And as soon as you have that why, that's the true north, it's going to help you in all of those other layers of marketing.
I love that. I love that. And I say the same thing. I'm like, what is your just statement? I just want. What is that thing that makes you wake up in the morning? Because it's not because you love the business. It's not because, oh, I've always wanted to be self-employed and entrepreneur. I have so much freedom, because that's not true. That is not true. It's not, it's hard work. And And yes, it's true that when you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work, but that doesn't mean it's not still work.
Oh, it is work. It is work. And
It's
that's why
work.
going back to that why, like, because then from there, and then if you're creating content around that, if you're using stories to support that and build that thread around your why, people see that because that's the problem you're solving for them. And
Yes.
nobody else can do it the way you do. Like, you are uniquely awesome and badass and brilliant, and some people need permission, some people don't. Some people need that, reaffirmation. And I hope if you get anything out of this episode, this is your reaffirmation to be your brilliant, badass self and create content around that. And this is the Wild West. Like, you get to create the landscape and blaze your trail.
That is, yes. And you guys can find her at the globalbusinessplaza.com. So go to globalbusiness.com and find Victoria and check out her Wild Wild West Southwest a saloon lounge. What do you call it?
The Story Saloon.
The Story Saloon. There you go.
Story Saloon. It's under Lilac and Aspen right now, but yes, you can also go to Lilac, and Aspen in terms of like that's what it says on the Global Business. But the Story Saloon is where you'll find me, and I'll pour you a good one.
There you go.
Not with a soda gun to your face.
Right. I have been accused from Victoria about doing that a couple of times. So
we all do. We all do. And that's
I have stuff. Take it. Take it.
we all do. And that's that clarity, right? We'll get there. But thank you so much, Peggy. I've appreciated it. I've had a really fun episode, and thank you for having me on the Voices of the Plaza. And I hope people come and see me at the Story Saloon.
Absolutely. And thank you. And thank you all. We will see you next Thursday. Bye, guys.